we're here to have real conversations with the real people you want to hear from about real topics that you really want to learn. And we're here to help you open up with real thinking. We're here to open up your awareness and help you become the real you. Welcome to the Wake the Bleep Up Show. Welcome, everybody, to the Wake the Bleep Up Show. I am here with my brother from another mother, Richard the Lionheart Lonsbury. And this is a man who is not only a personal coach and a dear, dear friend of mine. I mean, I tell this guy secrets I don't tell anybody. Let's put it that way. That's how much I love this guy. But this guy specializes in helping people with their relationships, and especially men. And he has been doing a fabulous job at that. And I love all the stuff that he's doing and can't wait to hear more about it. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, brother. And the crowd goes wild. We need sound effects for the next episode, man.
Yeah, I put those in after. I'll make sure to put the cheering.
Oh, good. Good.
Maybe with a
so
little applause sign that pops up on the screen.
I need that just like everywhere I go. I'm a Leo, so
it's like one that's like hanging off your back that you just push the button and it starts lighting up.
I once heard, you'll appreciate this. I once heard the description of a Leo was a Leo will walk into a room, and if people don't jump up and start singing Handel's Hallelujah chorus because he's entered, he'll run away crying. And I'm like, I feel so seen.
Oh man. So tell us, I mean, I know a bit about your story, so I'm not going to I'll let you talk about whatever details you want. But what was a real wake the bleep up moment for you?
I'm probably sure I'm still going through it.
Yeah. We all do every day.
Well, for starters, I do want to just take a moment, and I want to say how grateful I am to be here, though. You know, I know who you are. I know who you know. I know who's in your circles. I know what circles you've been a part of. I know who's been on these shows, right? And I know who's going to be on these shows. So to be in line and in the roster of such great men and women who are helping raise the consciousness of the planet and wake people to bleep up, right? I think I just wanted to express it really is an honor to be here and to be in the chorus of helping people to do that. Yeah. So I do want to say thank you.
Absolutely. You are more than welcome. I am just absolutely proud to have you here.
Yeah, man. Same. So with respect to the question, the first one that jumps out at me is probably the most rock bottom moment of my entire life. I was arrested for kidnapping my own kids in 2019, 2020, 2021. Yeah, it was right at the beginning of COVID, right? So right when Biden was like, you're going to get government money. And we thought that that would last for like the 5 minutes that we would need to wait indoors a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. Oh, it's not going to be 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We're good. Honey, it's only 2 weeks. We're fine. We're good. But I was arrested for kidnapping my kids. Long story short, we don't need to go into the whole thing, not even just because I'm ashamed of it, but just like who has that kind of time? This isn't a Joe Rogan episode, you know what I'm saying? But essentially, I had really dropped the ball on, you know, family leadership, on personal responsibility, on cultivating a safe environment in my home. And it became so toxic that, you know, my ex-wife, she felt the need to relapse on heroin. Mm-hmm. And extended family caught word of it, right? And my family and pretty soon everyone's like kind of like descending upon the household in trying to take care of the kids. And someone calls CPS. CPS, you know, gets a warrant out for our arrest, and we find out about it. And we're like, okay, what is the most logical, rational, you know, personal developed thing that we can do? I know. Let's run. Right? Let's wait outside of our apartment until like the cops have to go home And then let's break into our apartment, throw away 99.9% of our stuff, throw the 0.1% into the Honda Accord 2015, and put our kids in there and take off at 4 in the morning, right? And make a run for it because we're criminal masterminds for getting, you know what I mean? I was like musical theater major turned life coach. So obviously criminal mastermind, like it feeds
It's in that
into
resume somewhere. It's got to be.
Yeah, yeah, it has to be. Spoilers. Anyway, so we go over to Illinois. We stay with one of her friends. We hide out there for the winter.
No,
right?
you went to Illinois from California.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. I got a lot of very angry messages from both the government, from the police station, from my parents, from everybody's family. Right? What the bleep are you doing, if you will?
Right.
And this was a time in my life where every single day from sunup to sundown was just governed by fear.
Mm-hmm.
Governed by fear, and the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? Because their mother had grown up in foster care, and for anybody who's ever been in that system, it's horrible. Like I'm sure there's some good stories there, but her experience really colored my fear of if these kids end up in foster care, then they're going to get assaulted and die, and I'm like, turn myself in and then have my kids, right, like abused, or just run away and try to raise them in a hovel somewhere, right? So that's my thinking at the time, and we're probably going to talk about thinking at some point in this conversation, but that was my thinking at the time. And I remember it was late January, and it was very cinematic. My life is very cinematic, man. I'm a drama king, you know what I mean? Like not just like on stage from like my old education, but just in life in general. And we had secured an apartment. We were staying at this Motel 6. We were like, we need to get our life together. Olivia and I are looking at each other, and her arms are swollen from injections, and just like we don't recognize each other. We're gaunt ghosts of our former selves. In this Motel 6, our kids are on the floor eating food and playing with their toys, watching TV from sunup to sundown. And we're like, what have we done? We got to get out of this. But we thought we could get out of this scot-free and clean because nobody knew where we were.
Right.
So we had these delusions of grandeur of starting fresh, like new IDs and shit, like, so if you don't laugh, it's just sad. Remember that.
Well, yeah. You gotta laugh or you're gonna cry. I mean, come on.
It's okay to do both on the show, I hope. My God.
Yeah. Anything goes on this show. First swears, whatever. I don't care.
Okay, good. So we had this moment of a very beautiful, like tender, you know what? Let's see this through to a new day, a new beginning. Let's go to the methadone clinic. Let's get help, right? Let's get therapy. We don't need to get arrested. We can hide from them. Eventually this will blow over. They'll get overwhelmed with other cases and stuff. And we got this person who would be willing to rent to us for the money that we were making at the time. And we get everything in the car and we just like take off from the hotel, and everyone's spirits, you can feel the energy in the car, right? We're gonna go to school here in Chicago where there's snow. Yeah, you are, baby. And mom's gonna get better, and I'm gonna get better. We're gonna stop screaming or stop fighting, and everything's gonna be good. And Mr. Rogers will come in and give everybody a hug, okay, every week. Like, mind you, he's dead. Yeah. Mind you, he's dead, but the ghost of Mr. Rogers is going to come in and haunt us in the best way. And it was like this crescendo of hope, right? And one tail light,
you get pulled over.
And then they see us. All they know is that there's a warrant out for our arrest for kidnapping. They don't know who we are. Okay? They don't know who we are. They just know that these are two schmucks that kidnapped some kids. And so they pull Liv out of the car. Wham! Slam her onto the police, like
the hood. Yeah.
Car. Yeah, the hood, right? And I remember This was the worst day of my life. This was the ultimate. Out of all of them, this was the worst one. And I remember trying to console the kids, right? I was like, it's going to be okay. They just need to talk to mommy. Mommy's okay. Mommy's okay. Mommy's okay. And they're like, what's going to happen to us? And I'm like, you're going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. And I'm holding back all of this emotion, right? And it's like the dad instinct of trying to protect the kids from what's happening here. I've never felt more hopeless, right? Because I knew what was coming. Eventually, they're going to knock on my window. So everybody's going to be okay. You're fine. It's all good. And then, right? And then they get me out, bam, slam right onto the hood again. Now both of us are in handcuffs, and we're thrown into the car, separate cars. And the last thing I remember seeing is a police officer getting into my Honda and driving away with my kids. Right. And I didn't see them for 2 months after that. I got to FaceTime one time because of the social worker. Okay. So I got to FaceTime them that night while they were going to a stranger's house to stay. They had no idea what was going on. It was, we're still recovering from that kind of traumatic, like scenario, especially in them. And so I'm arrested. I'm not booked yet, but we're in the holding cells. We're in the holding cells in downtown Chicago PD. It's freezing, and we're treated like kidnappers, right? And you got this big brown guy, and they're like, "Fool!" They throw me, and they like chain me to this little kink in the wall, and so I got these handcuffs, and I'm here, and I'm just chained to the wall here in this holding cell, and all I can hear is Olivia, who's not only going through withdrawals, but now she's reliving her biggest nightmare of losing her kids. So I'm hearing her screaming. By the way, this is going to be a feel-good episode for everybody listening. There is a happy ending here.
But I know where the story goes, so I got it. Yes, I'm literally on the edge of my seat as I'm waiting for this.
So all I can hear is just the screams of the mother of my kids and the internal screams of me, and I don't know where the internal scream, Olivia, the screams of my woman, and I'm in this holding cell, and I'm just hearing other people like trying to fight with the cops, and I hear Olivia begging the police to see her kids. They're like, we're not going to let you do that, right? And then the social worker comes in after a couple hours. I remember, how do you get more hopeless than kind of like chained to a wall and it's freezing, right, and you can't touch, see, or even console anybody in your family?
Right.
That was the final breaking of the glass. When I believe like God is always trying to reach us.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that God is always, whatever you consider God to be, whatever you believe God to be, your higher power, right? The universe, Yahweh, whatever way, life itself is trying to reach you.
Right.
And God had to go through a couple layers to get through this thick skull.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And especially because I do a lot of men's work, men need to get hit over the head with something heavy very often before they start opening up, the Untethered Soul or the Ultimate Coach. You know what I mean? Or like any kind of self-help book. So social worker comes in. I just have one question, Richard. You're, musical theater major, choir boy, did good in school. Everybody in your town loves you. I haven't heard a single bad word said about you, right? Not even from your ex-girlfriends. How the hell are you here? Why are you here? And it's this woman, Lord, that you gave me. I was peak Adam. I was blaming everybody. My dad didn't hug me enough. You know what I mean? And my parents were mean to each other, and to this bully in school, and blah, blah, blah. Wah, 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 wah. Very unintegrated masculine type stuff. Very boyish. And she's like, okay, so the kids are in the custody of California. We've taken them. They're going to stay in a foster home for the next 3 days. Right? My biggest fear, but they're going to stay with strangers for the next 3 days, and then they're going to fly over to California. Now, this, again, God is always trying to reach us. When are we listening? Right? Miracle of miracles. My parents knew Richie's going to blow up the world. We love him, and he's talented and handsome, but he's going to destroy this because we can see the pattern. The writing is on the wall, man. He's going to lose these kids, and so they applied to be foster parents. And
Mm.
they went through all of the necessary channels to ensure that the kids didn't go into the system, right? You know, and I still get verklempt about it sometimes when I think about my mom gave up a 19-year teaching career to ensure that her grandkids didn't go into the system. You know, she's like, I'm giving up my job. I need some help with a stipend or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the kids will stay with us. And they did,
Mm.
you know, and they did. Thank God, you know, they did. And so they're informing me of this. I'm trying to make a case for myself. I have the gift of gab. And in this case, it wasn't a gift, right? I was just like explaining like out the ass. I was telling the whole life story, and she's compassionately listening, but she's like, okay, where does personal responsibility fall in any of this? You know? And so the kids are taken, and they're like, we're letting you go. This is the second miracle of the night. We're letting you go. You're not getting booked into the system. You're not getting arrested. We don't care about you. We care about the kids.
Hmm.
I did not know that. I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
Okay. We were absolutely supposed to be in jail that night. This is the power to me. You cannot tell me otherwise. This is the power of God. Because when I was chained to that wall, when I was just hearing Olivia like beg for her life, all I could do in that moment of helplessness was go within,
Mhm.
right? You can't go within. You don't go within, you go without. And the only answers that any of us have to ever like have a hope in life for, a hope and a prayer is inside.
Right.
And so I meditated. I remember meditating and I remember praying. And we're never more devout than when we really want something from God. You know what I mean? Whether it's on a test, getting your license, right? A court arraignment, you know, whatever, right?
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna go to church every day. I'm gonna be the ultimate Christian. You've never seen Christianity, the likes of which I would give if you just get us out of this, you know. Make with the miracle, old man. You know what I mean? Like, you know how I am. And so I remember that just going within whatever it needs to happen, I'll do it. That was the miracle number two. So miracle number one, my parents ended up becoming foster parents to make sure that the kids don't end up in the system. Miracle number two, we are not booked and we don't spend the night in jail. They give us the car back, right? And we both, and this was the moment I can see it in my behind my eye sockets, right? It's this was my wake up moment of I get inside the car and I just fall into the chair. And then Olivia comes out and she gently opens the door and then she falls into the passenger side. And then we close the door. And then, like magnets, we grab onto each other and we both just start screaming. It was this primal, you would have thought that our kids were dead, right? You would have thought, like, because they were to us in that moment.
Mhm.
It was, we've lost the children. Everything collapsed in this moment, man. I was screaming at the top of my lungs in her ear. She was screaming at the top of her lungs in mine. We looked insane, you know, like if someone was walking by, okay, they're going through something,
Right.
right? But we were losing our minds. I got this click. Okay. Pay attention. Pay attention. You not knowing what it meant to be yourself, to be a man, to be responsible, to be a father, to be a husband. These things that you promoted yourself as in your coaching career for a few years to posture, to try and sell somebody an idea, right? Because I'll be the first to admit, I absolutely played that coaching game of look at my perfect life, give me $10,000 so that you can have a perfect life as well. And mind you, spoiler alert, right? So we're holding each other, we're screaming at the top of our lungs, and there was this click of it's time to get the kids back. Whatever it is we got to do, it's time to get the kids back. And that was the moment that led me down the path of get your shit together, right? Of grow up, of it wasn't her heroin addiction that lost you your kids, fam. You know what I mean? It was not this woman, Lord, that you gave me. It was you, Adam. You took a bite.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how hot Eve is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care that she's naked and a redhead. I don't care.
Right.
It's with you.
I'm going to pause you real quick for context
Yep.
out there, folks. I just want you guys to know that I first met Richard online before any of this. We actually interacted back in early 2019 through the end of, and then he just disappeared. I didn't know what happened. He just wasn't answering when I messaged him, things like that. Just all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden he's back, and I learned about this. So I mean, yeah, we knew each other before this. I didn't know anything happened until recently. So please continue. It's the story is amazing.
Oh, thank you. um, yeah, we did. I remember that. We totally had some back and forths, and then peace.
Yep.
Because I disappeared off the face of the earth to try and, all of that was happening. And so we get back to California in 3 days, right? Drive through blizzard, drive through. Hi, cat. This is our cat Mouse, by the way. Her name is Mouse because that's just the kind of family we are. So we drive back to California. We don't have an apartment. We don't have a job. We don't have anything. We get to the court date, and one of the hardest parts of what happened was my oldest boy, Harrison. He has a biological father over in Texas, right? And because we were both so bad on paper, and there's evidence that we're not stable parents, he was able to come in and get, our oldest boy, Harry, from California, from my parents' place to Texas. So we no longer were able to see our oldest boy outside of Zoom. So now Liv and I are homeless, and we have our two kids that live 3 hours away with my parents, and then we have our oldest boy who's in Texas, and we're just completely just collapsed in this, tug of war, and we didn't handle it well.
Right.
And this is important to the story of like getting back to men's work and coaching and how it changed my life too. In that, but I'll get to that. So the judge is like, "Hey, you're psychologically and in every other Ali way, like unfit to raise children." I have government papers being like, father does not make safe decisions. He is unsafe. Unsafe. That word stuck with me. Unsafe. What are you talking about? I'm Richard Lonsbury. I'm affable. I have this high a voice. Like, I can sing. I've done musical theater. I wouldn't hurt a fly. I'm a nice guy. And the nice guy thing is exactly why I lost everything. Because a nice guy is so different than a good man.
Yeah. Good call.
Right. There's a very, very important distinction I definitely want to make on this. And so we get this case plan of get your life together, get an apartment, be able to create income, go to counseling, just make sure that you understand how and why you dropped the ball, and show us. Now, granted, if I were approaching this from the victim mindset, from that lens, I'd be like, oh, the evil CPS stole my children after I kidnapped them. And this evil judge is like being so mean to me, right? And I absolutely had those thoughts, and I was in that level of consciousness. But, it's still, in hindsight, I'm so grateful to that judge for giving me a man the hell up and get your kids back case plan. Like we wonder, what are the steps that I need in order to be a good husband? Well, let's start here.
Yeah, right. Well, step one.
So we do. It takes 2 years. It takes about a year and a half, right? But it felt like 2 years. But it takes a year and a half, countless parenting sessions, and uh, um, counseling, visitations, doing the work. Like everybody has. I like to say this with my men's group, the Restored Man. Every man has a dragon to slay.
Mm-hmm.
We all have some kind of dragon to slay, whether that is divorce, whether that is the death of a loved one, right? Whether that is losing a bunch of weight, like you and I have, and really facing that demon, or learning how to make the money that you need to make. When daddy's not coming to save you, mommy's not coming to save you, there is no one, the government, no one's coming to save you. You have to figure out how to provide value into a world that doesn't care about you.
Right. Right.
you know and you have to do that. So every man has a dragon. My dragon was becoming a man. My dragon was learning how to find God and find love when I hated myself, and learning how to forgive myself for everything I'd ever done. And we're going to talk about the document too. I'm really excited to share that, and because we're both pretty passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my dragon, is become the man who deserves his kids back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Key word there being man.
Yep. Yep.
So, like my mentor Segev loves to say, and he taught me this, is that the distinction between boy and a man is very simple. It's just we overcomplicate it. It is, when you're a boy, you're taken care of. And when you're a man, you do the taking care of. Right? So it's the accumulation of more and more responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And, to quote another mentor of mine, right, Sangika, the fire starter, he is like, in that process of increasing the amount of responsibility in your life, it is incumbent upon you to expand your capacity to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Capacity, what does that even mean, right? Well, it's my ability to feel my emotions without being reactive, and without throwing a fit every time I don't get my way about something.
Mm-hmm.
The kids don't listen, or your wife isn't having sex with you for a month, and all these different things. To feel my emotions, my capacity to provide an income. Can you show up to work on time? Can you follow up with your clients? Can you make sure not to, schedule a call at a McDonald's, right? Because you forgot, and you have to take it right outside while there's shootouts in Los Angeles and it's all loud. And you have a couple in London and they're like, I just didn't like him at all. I fucking blah, 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 right? It's like, all right, you guys. But I may or may not be speaking from experience.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
We'll leave it ambiguous for now. So expanding my capacity in this process of taking responsibility for my life, for my actions, for my children, for this woman, Lord, that you gave me, right, for this home. I didn't know how to do any of that. And that's zero shade, right, or disrespect to my parents. They absolutely did their job. They gave me life, and to their credit, they absolutely tried, to instill some semblance of this is important. But again, we get it when we get it, and not a moment before.
Right.
And I was too busy wanting to just I was in love with Rebecca Benton and Caitlin Wilde, and I was like just trying to get my girlfriend and to be the star of every single musical. I wasn't thinking about, oh, if I work, I gotta work hard. I actually gotta make money to buy this. So we do this case plan, and the number one thing, this is what's going to bring me into what I feel we're definitely going to speak on next, is the power of mentorship, the power of powerful men and women, because there were a handful of really, like one of my NLP mentors, shout outs to Tiffany Toombs too. She was an absolute godsend, but for the most part, I'd say it was like 80-20, right? These men in my life who They had nothing to gain by pouring into me,
Mm-hmm.
but they did it anyways because it is who they are. The power of someone who has exactly what it is that you want just pouring into you, man. You know, I'm sure that you can think of like immediately a mentor who just, I see something in you and I'm going to give you this book. I'm going to give you my time, even though it's $500 an hour, and you don't have that. You can't give me 10% of that, you know? And I'm going to provide feedback. I'm just going to love on you because I see something in you. I had a handful. Right? I don't need to get into all of them, but definitely, you know, like one of which was John Michael Clark. Shout outs to him. He has a fantastic coaching program called the Family Captain. And it's everything that you would think the Family Captain, right? A name like that, you know, alludes to is family leadership, masculinity, and embodiment, healing your relationship with your higher power, right? Being a man of God, not being a child of God, being a man of God, and being the spiritual leader of your family, and understanding what does that mean, leader, because that is such a triggering word, and everybody gets their panties up in a bunch when you hear leadership, right? Like you have men walking around, hey woman, right? Sandwich now. Why? Because I have a penis. Ha ha. You know, like that's the misconstrued misunderstanding of leadership. But my understanding of it, especially within the ethos of like this coaching program and this paradigm, is leadership is to John Maxwell's point, shout out, because John Maxwell was the guy who certified me for coaching. Leadership is influence, right? Nothing more, nothing less. It is the ability to affect outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? At the end of the day, you want to neutralize it and just make it as accessible as possible. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. But then how do you develop influence? Right? And that's where the journey of taking on more responsibility as the protector, provider, and presider of the home. Not ordained by God, but just it speaks to our ancestral instincts. It speaks to our biological instincts, and it speaks to our soul. What lights a man up more than taking care of himself, his woman, and his kids, his tribe?
Not much.
Right? Exactly. And whether it is the way that it's supposed to be or not, it doesn't really matter. I'm only really going to be speaking from my experience. And I know when I foisted all of the responsibilities onto Olivia back in my dysregulated, boyish days, that led to heroin addiction, mind you, right? And CPS and losing my kids. I was a big baby, man. It's like, everything hurt my feelings. I was afraid of the world. I was afraid of conflict. I was afraid of tension, right? Like I couldn't handle the kids. They would just annoy me so fast because it was just like taking away from my time and my peace and all this other stuff. Like I wasn't grounded in any capacity. And then I'm homeless during COVID, trying to get custody of my kids back. And I have these guys be like, hey, wake up, right? It is your job. No more crying about this. You can cry, but this is important. I want to make this very important distinction. You can absolutely cry. No whining.
Mm.
Right? No more whining about it. No more my daddy didn't, the government didn't. No more Olivia and heroin addiction. No, this is you. Right? Responsibility then, as I begin to understand it, going through this program and speaking with these mentors, is ownership of it all. And I think, was it Jocko? I think Jocko Willink, who wrote that book, Total Ownership or Radical Ownership or something to that effect. Fantastic book. But yeah, so let me not get lost in the weeds here. The more responsibility I took, the more these men poured into my life and helped me to introduce me to these ideas of masculinity and what it really is.
Mm-hmm.
And my my definition really falls in line with John Wineland's definition of it, right? He wrote a book called From the Core, incredible, incredible book. And his definition was a grounded transmission of unconditional love. You think about the times where you have felt the most like a man. Was it ever to the detriment of another person?
Mm.
You know, no.
Never,
It was,
never.
it was love and power meeting at this beautiful apex. You know, it was this, I'm not going to move. I'm going to take a stand. I'm going to be a mountain in this moment. Right? My wife is throwing the biggest fit in the world, right? All these accusations, all these big feelings. She's a storm. Full volcano. What am I going to do? I'm going to be an oak tree. I'll be right here, right? I'm not moving, and I love you. To me, that is masculinity at its core. And so learning about that, learning about what leadership is, taking responsibility for the outcomes. Okay, why did I lose my kids? I lost my kids because I made unsafe choices. What did I not do? What is a boundary? What the hell is a boundary? You know, going in that journey of reading all of the same books, No More Mr. Nice Guy, The Masculine in Relationship, right? Awaken the Giant Within, Way of the Superior Man, all, the greatest hits, right? The greatest hits of men's work and personal development, and being like, oh, okay, well, my life is in my hands. Grow up and set
Stop
goals and
whining.
stop whining and make decisions. Got it. Yeah, and slowly but surely, I grew. I grew into, because like John Maxwell says, you don't go to a goal, you grow to a goal. Old Richard had to die. Old Richard, Boy Richard, Jon Snow, seasons 1 through 4 in Game of Thrones had to die in order for the Lord Commander to arrive, right? And by the grace of God, you know, and I do want to give credit to their mother too, because just because we're not romantically together anymore doesn't mean that she's not, number one, the reason why we all got back together, right? A lot of the story, the myth of the story is that I'm the one that single-handedly nutted up and got the Lonsbury family back together. That's not the case. You know, behind every great man is an even greater woman who settled just a little bit, you know.
Hey,
Just enough
just
for it to
hey,
work out, you know.
you don't have to tell me, man. I've been with my wife for almost 23. In fact, it is 23 years now. Oh,
Yeah, so tell her, hey, listen, thank you for
oh, we just had that conversation this morning. Maybe not that brutal, but you know, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
but that was the gist of it. That's what I heard.
So she put in this was another wake up moment too. It was just she put in about like 80 applications because our credit was shot. We were homeless for 2 years. You know, and what are we going to tell renters, you know, landlords? What are we going to tell them? What's your rental history? We live in a Nissan Sentra by the Shell station in Long Beach Boulevard and peed in cups for a year and a half, you know? So she put in 80 applications. She's the one who helped us get a voucher. She's the one who helped us, you know, like get all of the assistance that we possibly could to get through this. Her efforts paired with this organization called PATH, People Assisting the Homeless, over in California. You know, politics aside, I am very grateful for the state and the amount of resources that are available to families, especially that need a leg up. These people are angels, dude. Like they wake up every day and they're like, oh, where's a homeless family that we can help house? Like that's their job. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh. So we were one of those fortunate ones. They put down 7K for a deposit for this beautiful place over in Southgate, Southgate in Los Angeles, and yeah, we started to pick up our life from there. You know, and the judge got wind that we had an apartment, we had a car. I had grown a life coaching practice out of the trunk of that car, man. right? Because what was I doing? These mentors were pouring into me. Hey, nut up, lead, cry all the cries, feel all the feels, but stop whining
Mm-hmm.
and take action. And I would be like, yeah, man, cry all the cries, feel all the feels, and take action, you know. And then people are like, hey, he's saying some real shit right now. Like, I want to know, what does he have? And so I would start sharing more of my journey, and that, I think, is one of the things that informs a lot of the work that I do, and why men tend to respect and work with me. Is I was talking to a client of mine, and I remember telling him, "You know how to win, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do." I was like, "You don't know how to lose." And that's when I got him. I was like, "You know how to win, brother, but you don't know how to lose," because he was so like afraid of all these other things happening. So he would operate from this like, "I'm gonna avoid the bad stuff happening." It's like, no, all that bad stuff I made happen. It happened to me, and I survived, and I found God through that, and I found love, and I found self-acceptance in that. That's why I am the right person for a powerful man who is creating powerful things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I can hold that when his life is falling apart, and when he feels unsafe, and when he's doubtful and wants to throw in the towel. And so learning how to lose, right, is one of the things that I was able to contribute to the life of a man, is bringing the loser, right, but not in a derogatory way, but in the guy who's learned how to get punched in the dick by life and still keep his heart open. That's what we want to do. That's gives us access to that secret power,
Mm-hmm.
right? Our masculine power is our ability to get punched in the dick and keep our heart open and still carry forward. So we get custody of the kids back. My dragon was slayed. That dragon was slayed. It was in no small part due to their mother doing so much of what she had to do. These angels from people assisting the homeless, my mentors who were helping me grow up while fulfilling the imperatives of this case plan.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, that's what helped. That was my wake up moment, led to uh, getting my family back.
Nice. Very nice, dude. I know your family means the world to you, and that was such a huge, huge step in your life to make that happen and to create what you've created, both in yourself and your practice and your family since then. You
Yeah.
know, that's one thing I really love about you. One of the many things I really love about you. But I've seen part of your journey, and I've obviously didn't know about much of this until recently.
Yeah.
But like I said, we had interacted with each other before. Then you disappeared. Then all of a sudden you
Mm.
reappeared, and we reconnected. And I can tell the difference
Mm.
of who you were before that and now. You know,
How?
very good question. When when you and I interacted early on, before this happened, you felt how do I put this? You felt colder.
Mm.
That makes sense. I didn't
Yeah.
feel you pouring love like I do now. I
Yeah.
felt like it was, hey, I'm trying to sell you a coaching program, or I'm trying to get you into my circle so I can maybe down the road say, it just felt very that way. It felt like
Yeah.
not very personal, it felt just business, whatever.
Yeah. Agenda.
Now I truly call you brother, and I feel it. And I feel it every time we talk.
Mm.
And it's just, you are a different man today than you were back then.
Mm.
In a good way.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. I think that's a wonderful and very important distinction for any man who's listening to this episode, right? Is was that everything was just about what can I get out of this interaction?
Mm-hmm.
That's a scarcity mentality, right? That's a fear-based way of being.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was starting coaching, I was always afraid.
Yeah.
When's my next client going to come in? Is this going to be the one? And so every conversation was the highest stakes imaginable.
Right.
And when you're like that, what nobody tells you is that everyone on the other side can feel it.
Absolutely.
Right. Whether it's
Absolutely.
conscious or unconscious, it doesn't matter. There's a tingle, the spider tingle, if we want to go Marvel.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? But it's like that. I can I smell. What was the in real estate? I think they call it commission breath.
Yeah, I never heard that, but that's so
Right.
true.
I love that, man. It was true. It's like it's commission breath, and it didn't make any room for the kind of relationship that's available that we've cultivated.
Hmm.
When you ease off of that, and the irony is, everyone is much more likely to work with me when I bring this
Yeah, yeah.
right to the table.
And it's funny the way you just said that, because that's exactly how I felt and what I went through when I lived in Panama City. I got laid off from the company. I was a COVID layoff. No, we're just saving some money because of COVID. I mean, I literally didn't. I was like a top performer. Didn't even have a sticky note in my file, so it was a shocker to get called into the office with the box of my shit.
Yeah.
Walk out past everyone at break time while they're all out there having their smokes. but but no, so during that period of layoff, that's when, I was, up until that point, I was coaching because I enjoyed it so much. I was doing it
Yeah.
as a side job. I always hoped it would turn into something full time, but I didn't care when, because I was just
Yeah.
enjoying it so much. Now I'm laid off. I'm like, holy shit, got to make something
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And I did. I made it work, but there's lots of the clients I've talked to now who, one, have said I changed their lives, but two, they said they felt it being salesy up front, but we're glad they got in, because once we got into a coaching program, it helped change their lives. But I look back at that and I'm like, God, I look at some of those. Because I record most of the calls, I go back and I look at some of these. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
How would I feel if I was on the other side of that? I would feel the same way, that somebody was like, dude, okay, I know where you're going with this, so let's cut to the chase. How much does it cost? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. 100%.
And very recently, I had this conversation the other day. Very recently, I've gone through a fairly rough time myself. Maybe definitely not to your extent, but and so now and most people, since we got back from London the last time, actually, it was shortly thereafter things kind of hit rocky, and I kind of disappeared, like you, on social media. Anyway, people are like, I've had people reach out to me like, hey, what's going on? Oh, no, everything's fine. Even though I was lying through my teeth. But now the difference is, so like you just said, like you were talking about, I love the way you shared that story, because it's exactly the way I felt just recently. Like I talked to you about the other day, just in the last like month-ish, maybe 2 months, where I'm like, back to that personal responsibility. Look, it's time this is my life, and it's up to me to be the provider, the one providing, not being provided for. It's time for me to make that decision. Yeah. And so if you look recently, I've started showing up again. And now I'm showing up and I'm having conversations with people again, but I'm not doing it from I need a coaching client standpoint. I'm doing it from pouring love out into the world, out into these people. Because guess what? I love coaching. And if it doesn't pay me a dime, that's sad, but but I mean, it's less important now. I had so much focus on the money for so long, we did these programs. You and I did a program together. We did Ankush, by the way, the ACS coaching school, amazing. But in that time, even during that time, my primary focus was, how can I get more clients? How can I get more clients? How can I make more money? How can I make more money? And some of that, me here, kind of went by the wayside. Well, I went into sales mode, or whatever you want to call it. And it kind of came that way. And so that's why I love hearing what that part of your story about how you were having love poured into you and pouring that love right back out. Yeah. That was a piece that had been, until recently, missing from my life. Yeah. And that's the reason why we're here today, why I'm firing back up this podcast, which I had started and then stopped for a while, and now back up, consistent, and I'm showing up again. And I'm doing that not if for nothing else, the videos I put out, the topics I put out, if nothing else, if that changes one person's mindset, then that has been a great day. Yeah. And that's where I'm at now. And that's why I love hearing your story, because you've heard a little bit about what's been happening in our lives recently. And so I know you can relate, and having shared more of your story here, there's a lot of people out there myself included, that when they think they're at rock bottom, guess what? It's probably lower. The rock is probably a lot more bottom than you think you are. You're
It
not.
can get worse.
Yeah.
It can get
Like
worse.
they hear your story, like, oh shit, it wasn't really that bad.
So we're gonna take an interlude because my son decided to join us. Give me one second.
Broke your laptop.
Okay.
Because she
Hey,
can't use the
hey,
toaster.
tell me after.
Can't use the toaster.
On a very important call saving the world. Tell me after. Go, please. I'll watch TV with your sister.
I have those.
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Lock it, please.
We can talk about this.
Okay.
The good news is this is recorded, so I can edit that out.
Yeah. Or you can see how great a parent I am, and then everybody else can. So you're welcome for keeping my cool. This is what I mean when you can keep your cool after you want to scream and just throw things.
Yeah, I've had a life of that, dude. Okay, so I don't know if I shared the story on any of these shows or not before, but so my wife and I have raised 4 kids, and 3 of those are girls.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the story behind it is that, you know, Marcus, our son, who's 18 now, is my only biological. The other 3 are not. The 26-year-old Melinda, she's my stepdaughter.
Yeah.
But I'm dad to her because she was 4 when her mom and I got together.
Yeah, they're ours. They're ours.
Yeah. And the 2 oldest, Tiffany and Stephanie, are actually our nieces, but we took them in when they were 9 and 10 as our own.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I talk about those days where you just can't, you want to yell and scream, when these 3 girls were all teenagers at the same time. And so them and my wife all were on the same cycle at the same time.
Our sync,
Dude,
Voltron.
Split level house. I'd come home from work. I'd walk in and I'd see 4 heads do this. And I'll be like, I'll be in the garage for the next 7 days. I'm going to build something. I don't know. Just let me know when dinner's ready. I'm just
gonna chop wood.
I mean, Marcus and I went down, fixed cars. We built desks. We built shelves. I mean, we literally were building stuff. It was crazy. I look back now and I laugh, but I mean, back then you just like you had a long day at work. You come home and then you get that that look from all 4 of them at the same time. You're like, oh shit, it's that time.
For me, man, it was the I'll be helping some dude connect to his inner child, right? And it's just like, I never knew my father. Right? And then all of a sudden, Dad, who never knew their father? Why are they crying? What's going on? I'm Elliot. Is that my inner child? Yes, that is your fucking inner child.
Speaking at you through the door.
Yeah, it's your conscience. God, Jesus Christ.
Then you get the deer in the headlight look. You're like,
in the nostril flare. Have you seen Yellowstone? I'm sure you have.
Nope.
What?
Nope.
I feel like you would have loved it. Okay.
I feel like I might have too, and also you were talking about Game of Thrones earlier. I've literally never seen a single episode.
Oh my God, man! You with your job security and your
you know this part about me. I rarely, if ever, watch any sort of TV.
I know, man. You gotta fix that. You gotta go to a TV watching seminar.
I coach people on cutting out their TV time. You can't exactly do that if I'm the one watching all the TV.
Oh my God, that hurts my heart. That's okay. So a lot of times I like to I'm a movie and a TV. I'm a media guy, right? Like I absolutely
movies. I love movies, just not TV. I don't watch TV.
You are forgiven. Your sins are forgiven. It's the Lord's day, so why not? But a lot of times, I love to work with people who watch as much media as I do, right? To an extent, because we have the same vocabulary, and so I'll use metaphors, right? And I'll use like the shows and stuff and movies to convey or elicit an emotion or convey a point, and they'll understand it, right? Like when I talk about how the masculine is unapologetic, and it activates, right? It activates this very nuance. For example, like if you're in love and you're seeing this girl, there's two different kinds of like stop it, you jerk, you know, that she'll give you. And there's like the stop it, you jerk. Right? That no, right? That's a hard no. There's a wall. No means no. And then there's stop it.
You've seen way too much Bill Burr. He does a whole bit on that.
I love. Oh, there's no reason to hit him.
He's like,
no one.
I can give you 14 reasons right now. I'm not saying you do it, but
you know,
there's no reasons.
Fucks your best friend and takes half your shit. No reason. No reason. His newest one. We got to watch his newest. I don't know if you've seen his newest one, but it's on Hulu, so you may not watch it. But his newest special.
I have Hulu, so I can watch it.
Okay, watch his newest one, dude. It's so good. But like the stop it, you jerk, right?
I love that part. His bit on that.
So funny
because you said it just now. You literally said it just like him just now. And then he's like, then you get into court, and she's like, and you get a bad read, and he's like, stop it, you jerk. She didn't say it like that. Sorry, I had to.
She didn't say it like that.
She didn't say it like that. Oh, but yeah, you're right. There is the total difference between actual stop right now or stop it. You know, it's total difference.
And you know, what I do is I'll have the guys watch The Notebook, right?
Ooh.
So watch The Notebook, and they'll see like Ryan Gosling's character, like how he conducts himself and how he knows when to push the boundary and when to honor it, right? And how it's like activates attraction, because that's a masterclass in attraction, right? Maybe not like every love story needs to be like that, but there is something to be said about devotion, about when you know, and there's something to be said about the dynamics of men and women and masculine, feminine, and how attraction works. And there's something about the unapologetic nature, like when he has her like lie down in the middle of the street, and he does it too, right?
Right.
Like that's in it. Which of us had the balls to do that at 17 years old when we were in love or in relationship? You know,
right,
we didn't know that.
Right.
Like at least me, I knew. Like my mindset was, he like woman to not be a threat, right? And then she'll like date like your best friend who's the bad boy, and you're like, what's going on? I was like her. I read poetry. I have access to my feelings, and I would just like sing and dance, and it was really nice. What happened? You know? And it's like, well, that's what makes you one of the girls.
Right, like, right. You're the friend material, not boyfriend material.
You're the best friend in the whole wide world, Richard. I can tell you anything. You know, and then I go through this crucible, this Odyssey, Ulysses journey, you know, and I find my nutsack, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I need both. You know, you absolutely need to have like connection to your asshole, like not literally, but like figuratively. You need that too. You need that connection. But I do want to say this about one of the greatest lessons I could have ever learned from slaying my own dragon was becoming more, not fully, because I'm not there yet. I'm 36, and I still, to a degree, don't know my ass from my elbow, right? But I figured out some things, and one of them is being an integrated man. And what it means to be an integrated man, in my opinion and experience, is you have a man who is not governed by his pain. Right? And hold on one second. They're still alive. That's what matters. So
you hear a crash or something?
No, they're knocking on the door, and they're just like yelling at each other. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll make sure to deal with that after. But integrated with his pain in that he's not governed by it. And what I experienced is when I had a lot of anger, I had a lot of fear of everything growing up, including and especially conflict. Okay. And so I couldn't advocate for my needs to be met. I couldn't really set any kind of boundaries. My no meant yes, and my yes meant no. And if there was any kind of outside pressure, I'd crumble like a cracker. Right. And so how could I ever create the results that I wanted in my life if I wasn't willing to push back, if I wasn't willing to advocate for what I wanted? I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, one of the, it like knowing me now, this Richard now, back then, like Liv didn't need me to be like, I'm gonna call the cops and throw you in rehab and blah 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 blah, right? No. What she needed was leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership rooted in love, masculine, a grounded transmission of unconditional love, leadership, influence, nothing more, nothing less. Hey, there's a real problem in this house. You're hurting, you're coping in a way that is unsafe for both you and our children. Here's the step-by-step plan of what we are going to do because I got you, because you're my woman. These are our kids, and we are going to face this together. That's a little different than, oh my God, we got to pack up the kids and we got to run away from the law.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. Just a little bit.
And so the lack of integration was I was governed by my fear, right? Like I was afraid of my own shadow. And because she was such a powerful force in an essence, right? An entity, she was like, you don't understand, this has to happen. So her fear would overcome my rationale.
Right.
Right. And you and I both really subscribe to this like three principled kind of mentality of we're all innocent. We're all just doing the absolute best that we can to the degree that we can, given our awareness of things.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, rather, we're both innocent in being these two big kids with kids, right? But her pain governed my life because I was afraid of my own.
Yep. And I sorry to interrupt you there, but
please.
You just spoke in a way one of my statements. I am incredibly patient, kind, and understanding with everybody I interact with, verbally, visually, or in writing. I understand everyone's doing the best they can with the thinking they have. Because I was very impatient with people. I'd get frustrated at anything they said and this was, it was actually Devin Banison who put this one on me when I was at his Game Changer event. And thereafter, we spoke several times. And he was like, look, everyone's doing the best they can with the thinking they have. And I'm like, and it's true. When I start looking at it from that perspective, you respond, you receive and respond a lot differently.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, thank you. That's a good point. And I wasn't aware of my own thinking at the time. Right? I wasn't aware of running away from the law made sense to me.
Yeah, at the time.
Because I was not aware of my own thinking. I was reactive. And part of what really creates a mess in a man's life is reactivity. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, if you hear sirens, it's only because I live in Los Angeles. Nothing is actually wrong and nothing is on fire, at least in my home.
The sad part is it's been like 3 or 4 times you've referred to sirens and noise in Los Angeles. I'm like, this is becoming a trend, man.
You're right, man. It's time to move. I need to get out of Inglewood. But it's also 81 degrees over here, and it's like 8 degrees everywhere else in America.
Yeah,
so
we were 81 today too.
That's right. No, you're on the East Coast. Yeah. So being governed by my pain allowed me to be led by everyone else's unconsciousness, by everyone else's fearful thinking. I was a follower in my own life rather than a leader of my life. And so I tolerated, Olivia really pushing the boundaries of we got to run, we got to hide, we can't tell the parents, we can't do these things. And she wasn't the bad guy in this. She was trying to protect her children.
Right.
And she's trying to cope with her own internal pain, all of her trauma, everything that comes up. So with your line, learning to be patient, and everyone's doing the best that they can with their own thinking. In her mind and in my mind, we were doing what was right for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
The danger obviously comes in not having our thinking challenged.
Right.
You know, and that's the power of mentorship. It's like, walk me through the thinking of like running away was a good idea again, and you know, da 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 da. Oh well, right? Like so having accountability partners, having mentorship, having people in your life that can love you while still challenge your thinking and your awareness is a game changer.
Yeah.
It's an absolute game changer, man. Like, I had so many places to hide. You know, I was really good at hiding, hide and seek, but on a spiritual level, I would have won every time, you know?
Yeah. Well, guess what? It's like you said earlier to one of your clients, you know how to win, but you don't know how to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes those losses, those moments where we feel like failures, or those moments where you take 2 steps back, because 2 steps back usually brings you 4 steps forward if you let it. If you let it. And this is where you and I have seen this. We've lived it, we've been through it, where so many people out there, instead of stepping up like you did and I have, I can't say give up per se, but they just let everything happen. Well, this is, like you said, the government, the people, blah, blah, blah. And they just continue down that path of, this is happening to me, not happening for me.
Yeah.
But in reality, when you take ownership, in fact, this is one of my all-time favorite books, Reinventing Yourself by Steve Chandler.
Mm.
And it is about,
Classic.
it is 100% about kicking the victim out the window and becoming an owner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because it was one of his first books, and he's written so many golden books. That one there, you see all the sticky tabs on it. My friend of mine used to say, my books look like I squished a parrot because I got all the different colors. He's like, you look like you squished a parrot in your books. Like, yeah, there's a few sticky tabs. Yeah. So I always remember that he came over, looked at my bookshelf. Every book he grabs, it's like, he's like, Jesus, what did you squish parrots in these things?
It's funny.
But that one sits on my desk for that reason, you know. So I there's not many books here that I haven't read. There's some, I mean, a small section that I've bought and just never got to.
Yeah.
Right now though, I am literally rereading or re-listening to several books that I know have had huge impacts on me. And like that one there, I just finished reading again. The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Read and listened to that one again. And just like, and Chris Doris's The Book of Mental Toughness Mantras. I actually carry that with me now. Because every time something comes up that is, you know, trying to drag me down below that O line, open it up, I'm like, page 42. Okay, I'm good. You're right. I get it. All right.
All right. Scream into, got it. Okay.
And so even at work, I'll have that book. I'll have the Book of Mental Toughness Mantra sitting on my desk, like beside me. And I've had people comment, does that help? I'm like, oh, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And I've actually offered it to several people at work. No, I don't read. That explains a lot.
I'm not going to say that explains a lot.
No, I wouldn't say it, but I mean, I'm thinking
I'm not going to say it is my point.
Yeah,
I'm just not going to say
it. But it is. It's like, it's even my book. My book is, and that's actually, if you saw my post the other day, I'm actually revising it again because one, stories need to be updated from when I first wrote that. I wrote that over 2 years ago. And I was living it at the time. And in the last year, I had gotten away from living it. So now I'm not only rereading or revising it, it's for 2 reasons. One, it needs updating. And 2, I'm getting back to living that again. So each one of these sections that I was through my book, if you bought my book, were saying, hey, do this, or this helps. I don't not necessarily say do this, do this. No, it's more like, this is what I do and this is what helps. And then a year and a half later, I stopped doing that. So it's like, all right, now I'm nuts. And this is also why I haven't been promoting my book either, because I would have felt wrong promoting something that I'm not living.
Mm.
So I'm updating, revising this. So 1, I'm living it again. 2, it's more up to date. And 3, I already started writing another book, but now I don't feel right about that until I fix this one. This needs to be right and out there to the current version before I complete the next one, which, by the way, is all about leadership. And leadership in the home, leadership at work, leadership in business, leadership with people in general. Because a lot of people don't realize, like you and I were talking about, what true leadership is. And it has been painstakingly obvious to me, the people that use their title and call themselves a leader instead of actually being a leader. That was one of my posts the other day. I said, leadership is a state of being, not a title. And it's true. It's who you're being is what creates you as a leader, or can create you as a leader. Just because you have a title does not make you a leader.
I'm curious, like, if you want to riff on that, because it sounds like you got some more in the tank there.
Part of that, like you and I talked about the other day, is the current person that I work for. Overall, I like the guy as a person, although he could use a lot of improvement from a leadership standpoint. He's very old school. He reminds me of like somebody who worked in a manager that worked in a supervisor or manager that worked in a steel factory back in the 60s or 70s, that was just like, beat you with a stick every time. It's like you can do 100 things right, but the one thing you do wrong, beat him. That kind of person. Whereas if he just applied even a fraction of real leadership to his role, the place would explode and people would respect him, which they don't now.
You want to have some fun?
I always want to have some fun. I'm curious where you're going to go with that, though.
All right. So I think this would be a really great opportunity to demonstrate schmaltzy leadership. And how do you reach him?
Okay, so I'm curious where you're going to go with this, because I've had this similar conversation with several of our other mentors.
That's it. That's my question. How do you reach him, leveraging the thinking and the principles that you abide by? Because I agree with your paradigm of leadership, right? But what I think people would benefit from so greatly is to actually see, hear, taste, and touch and understand what you mean. Because we can mean it in concept, right? When I say masculine leadership, nobody knows what that means. But when I say, okay, my woman's addicted to heroin and I'm being reactive, so I'm not being in my masculine, I'm not operating from my core. What do I need to do? Return to the breath, right? I need to find a way of regulating my nervous system. I need to find a way of calming my nerves down and returning back to my wisdom. What like Sydney Banks would call it, right? I'd become aware of myself. Turn the lights back on. Let me become aware of my thinking. I'm projecting and I'm judging her. I'm judging myself. I'm judging the kids. I'm judging my life. Let me get back to my heart. What does it mean to get back to my heart? It means I get back into a loving feeling. I get back to wisdom. I get back to this knowledge, this knowing God has me. I'm safe. I'm spiritually safe in my own skin. The spirit can't die, right? My first line of my document, I am that I am forever, right? So the eternal aspect of me. Now, how do I face this situation? I confront it, which is so out of character for me, but that is it, right? I confront it with love. And so modeling that is one of my favorite things that I love doing with like my guys. And me personally, I'm curious because I absolutely have something I want to learn from your version of leadership, because I so respect and subscribe to what you're saying.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that acknowledgement. And you know, to your question, I have literally I've talked to Onkush, I've talked to Chris Doris, I've talked to Devin Vanison, I've talked to so many of the even Steve Hardison and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
And I have yet, not saying not, I'm saying yet, found a way to, for lack of a better term, get through to this guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have pulled out every stop. Now I'm living the leadership that I believe in. I have probably one of the greatest teams I've had in ever.
Yeah.
And I constantly have people from the shop going, "Hey, can I come work on your team? Do you have openings?" You know, I'm like, unfortunately, no, sorry, but thank you for the compliment of asking, you know, because it speaks worlds of that I'm not just impacting the people that directly work for me, that I'm impacting the company as a whole, with the exception of this one individual.
Yeah.
And again, most of the conversations I have with him that are not me trying to, you know, get through to him lead me to believe that he does not believe he needs to change, does not want to change, thinks that what he's doing is the best way. Like back to he is the primary reason I wrote that statement in my document about being completely patient, kind, and understanding with everybody I encounter in verbal, visual, or written communications. I understand everyone's doing the best they can with the thinking they have.
Yeah.
I wrote that literally because of him. I speak that because of him. So yeah, I don't know. I honestly, and I don't say that very often because I'm not giving up. No way, shape, or form. I don't believe it. I don't believe in give up ever. So, and in fact, that's for all you listening out there, if those of you who follow me or anything, you know that is one of the phrases that I cringe. If ever I hear somebody say I give up or some variation thereof, oh, you are opening the floodgates, my friend. Because I will ask you a lot of questions to get you out of that thinking. But anyway, so back to your question. I have not figured it out yet, and I'm not going to stop trying to figure it out, but I haven't yet.
Got it.
Yeah. So, and just like you said, everyone else I mentioned just a minute ago all said the same thing. Ooh, I feel an opportunity here for you to like, cool. Let's hear what you have to say. Try it. And okay, next opportunity.
Do you want to riff on this for a little bit? You want to dance?
A little bit. We are already an hour and 15, hour and 18 in. So let's riff a little bit. Keep going. We don't have to stop.
Got it. This is fun. I'm never going to tell anybody what to do unless they specifically ask, right? And even then, I'll make it a point to just like barrage them with questions before that. I want to invite you to consider something I learned in my like retreats and from my journey so I do men's work, right? So men's work essentially is just personal and spiritual development for men to create themselves as the man that they want to be, which involves embodying your masculine, energy, which involves stepping into a greater degree of leadership and intentionality, right? And what is the document? But it's declarations. This is who I choose to be in the world. And then I operate as such, right? It's our North Star, right?
So we're creating ourselves to be each day.
Exactly. And one of the ideas, shout outs to my mentor Segev too, that he introduced me to, is that feedback is the breakfast of champions. Right. And when I hear something like this, I'm the only thing I'm curious about is his philosophy towards feedback. Because if I don't know what that is, I don't have an in. Right? I've never, like, if I would ask, that's the first thing personally that jumps out at me, is that idea of what is your position on feedback in the workplace?
Right.
Because nobody likes to be criticized, right? who in God's name loves to be criticized? But, and this is kind of where we get meta and we leverage like identity, right? Because men, we're like, I need to, like, I want to beat my chest and I absolutely want to be the big swinging dick and I want to be in integrity with myself and da 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 da. So, like, leveraging, are you the kind of, if you were the guy, if you were the difficult ass manager and I was, like King Richard the Lionheart, which I am, right? But just for funsies, for role play sake, like what I feel inspired to do is to approach you and challenge you as a man,
Okay.
right? Because men want to grow. We want to be the best at what we do. In order to do that, we have to be open to feedback. And we have to be willing to be able to give it too. Right? So like that's something that really changed my life. And I think it will change the lives of any man that wants to create more outcomes in his life of anything. When was the last time that you, not you, but like a listener has asked their wife, how do you, like, scale of 1 to 10, how am I doing as a husband according to you? Right? 10 being you, like all of your girlfriends should be jealous of you. Like, right? Like, scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you in the bedroom by me? Like, these things that a lot of times our ego doesn't want to know. Right? But what I have found is that the man who has the balls to ask becomes the most powerful man in the room. And the distinction I want to offer, I think this is a really good, like, kind of like wrapping up point too, is this idea, again, I have really great mentors. The high school version of feedback is, okay, I'm open to feedback, right? That's high school basketball.
Yeah.
And then he was like, all right, now college ball is I welcome feedback, right? The NBA is give me feedback. When I moved from high school to NBA, I grew exponentially. How am I doing as a coach? When was the last time that any of these coaches have asked their clients how they're doing? Right? How am I doing as a husband? My kids giving me feedback. Hey, how am I doing as your dad? Like, Elliot has no problem telling me now. He has zero issue being like, you could do better.
I think it's time to step it up, Dad. Come on.
And I'm like, you know what? Can I give you some feedback? No. Cut me off at the kneecaps. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
That's how it works.
But yeah, man, like, I love, like, I'm pretty sure that one of the reasons why you're such a great leader and your team is so effective is because of your attitude towards feedback with each other.
And I'm like you mentioned, I am completely open to it. In fact, I welcome it. And in fact, now that we're having this conversation, I'm actually going to ask this week. And I typically ask once a month to once a quarter, but it's been probably a quarter, so it's about time.
Yeah. Because when people begin to associate you with, oh, not only does he give feedback, he welcomes it, right? Which is another way of elevating your leadership and status in their eyes. Oh, because what does it convey? He can take it. Right? He's not going to throw the fit. He's not going to be like, this schmuck, right? Who's like beating people with a stick with his leadership. And so what do we get? We get that elevated status in the eyes and the hearts of your people. And then we get more influence.
Right.
That's what I've learned anyways, is that my, like, what we want above all things isn't actually love, because love, you don't lose that. That's everywhere. It's embedded, it's innate, it's life.
Right.
What we want is respect. So your relationship to feedback will absolutely inform how respected you are in all the key areas of your life as a man.
Right. Right. Well, we're getting close to time, brother. And God, I'm so proud of you and of everything you've been through, everything you've accomplished, everything you're doing. I love you to death. So glad that you're here having this conversation with us. Before we call it for the evening, is there any last minute words you'd like to share with the audience?
You want to be happily married, surround yourself with happily married people. You want to be shredded, hang out with people that are shredded, that intimidate you and make you feel a little bad about yourself. You want to be wealthy, surround yourself with people that out earn you 10 to 1 and have good hearts, right? It's your environment that will, I'm one of the best coaches at what I do because I surrounded myself with coaches who out earn me 10 to 1, 100 to 1. But more importantly, they're way more embodied than I am. And so I feel this, I leverage my competitive nature, right, and spirit to grow because of my environment. So the ultimate hack I've ever found in my life is surround yourself with the people who have everything that you want, right? Because you will naturally become that, to not be left out in the cold and to not be kicked out of the herd. You know? So that's the best advice I had ever heard with respect to growing as a person, as a man, as anyone who wants to be more effective in their life. And then the second thing is I'm actually hosting a leadership retreat. I'm hosting a leadership immersion, the Restored Man Leadership Immersion. It's actually in Oahu. So, you know, a very, very, a place where I had a joke and I completely lost it. But yeah, it's in Oahu. So who doesn't want to do push-ups and get yelled at by another man in the sand with clear blue water? You know what I'm saying?
Right on, brother. Well, thanks again for being here. And thank you everybody out there for listening to another episode of the Wake the Bleep Up show. And we'll see you next time.